Hello and welcome to this short video about bathing and epilepsy. There's two main reasons for choosing the subject this month, and the first is to support International Epilepsy Day on the 8th of February, and the second reason is that I think the topic is a very good example of how, despite our best intentions, if we don't allow ourselves to reflect on our practice, we can sometimes remain or become prescriptive. And by that I mean using a diagnosis or our perception to impact on intervention and recommendations. Now, within bathing and epilepsy, we completely understand that there are certain risks involved of being submerged in water for somebody who has epilepsy. In fact, the British Epilepsy Society indicate that one of the first things you should do is remove the person from water should they start to have a seizure while submerged. And the reasons for that seem relatively self-explanatory. The challenge, I think, within practice is that because the perceived risks outweigh the benefits, if we don't appreciate bathing as a meaningful occupation, then we're more likely to move straight into showering. Because it's perceived to be safer if the person isn't submerged in water, and therefore the risks are significantly reduced. But let's take a step back. It's really important within anything that we do, including bathing, that we understand why somebody engaged in a task and not just how. So for somebody with epilepsy, are we asking the right questions as a starting point? So why is bathing, and by that we mean being submerged in water and not showering, why is that important to them? And it could be for a variety of different reasons. It could be part of a family role, it could be because it helps them unwind, it helps mental health, or a variety of other different reasons. The chances are that actually being submerged in water in a bath is not primarily to get washed. So let's not make that assumption. If we determine, therefore, that bathing is meaningful to that individual, what would happen if we jumped to showering because of the perceived risk? We're going to limit those persons' roles, we're going to impact on their ability to engage in that meaningful occupation and potentially their independence. So it's really important that we complete our assessments and make recommendations in the right client-centred and holistic way, with occupation really as the focus. It's then also really important that we understand the marketplace. So when recommendations were made or when perceptions were generated about epilepsy and bathing, the chances are the marketplace was very different to what it is now. And by that I mean, because the recommendation was to remove the person from the water, then we were at that time likely limited to hoisting or lifting the person out of the water, which could be perceived to be a more time-consuming or complex task. Now the market, though, allows us to remove the water from that person with specialist height-adjustable baths. And that could be demonstrated by an example of the Young Epilepsy Centre, who recently had the Gemini platform bath installed, which allows them to remove the water from the person very, very quickly, whilst maintaining the person's safety on that platform at a height that is appropriate for carers. So it shows that if we have awareness of that marketplace and we're asking the right questions, then actually there's no reason why meaningful occupation shouldn't be able to be maintained whilst also limiting the risks. So what we don't want to hear is, we don't do bathing, or this person with this condition shouldn't bathe. The latter of those means that we should question how client-centred and holistic that assessment is. And the first, by saying we don't do this in our area, calls into question the idea of fettering of discretion and actually the legality of that practice. So it's really important that we don't take things for granted. We remember what we are there to do, and that is to support somebody to maintain their engagement in meaningful occupation, maximise their independence, and make sure occupation is the focus of that assessment. So make sure you ask the right questions. Ultimately, there's no reason why anybody can't bathe if they want to now, given the marketplace. And that's exactly the same whether somebody has epilepsy or not. Please take a look at the Abacus Academy website, where you'll find a lot more information about epilepsy and bathing, including the case study around the Young Epilepsy Centre that I briefly mentioned earlier, as well as a full presentation on client-centered bathing, which you might find useful. Thanks very much.